Hi, Democrats. Today is Wednesday, November 17th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Not real sure if I want to say Happy Wednesday today, because today is a big day of action for uh, folks of good conscience in the state of Oklahoma. Um, and today is one of those days that part of me is very proud of because it is the people demanding to be heard. And then part of me is very sad because the people have to demand to be heard rather than it just being the normal part of course. And so today is November 17th, which is Julius Jones is scheduled for execution for tomorrow, November 18th. The governor, Kevin Stitt, is the only person that can stop that execution. And there are a lot of indicators that would say that he should do it. He told us in September that he would await the decision of the Pardon and Parole Board and use that as guidance to decide what he was going to do. The Pardon and Parole Board first came back with a commutation, and then they came back with clemency. Two things that they've said, stop this execution. And here we are, less than 24 hours away, and the governor has still not announced his decision. I mention this because I was talking about a day of action. High school students in the greater Oklahoma City area walked out of their classrooms today. A lot of them made their way to the Capitol to let their voices be heard. A lot of them are not eligible to vote, but they thought it was important enough to leave their classroom and let their voices be heard. A lot of what the governor has been saying or has been being put out from the governor's office is that he's not going to be swayed by voices from outside of the state, i.e. Kim Kardashian and the like, that he's not going to be swayed by outside agitators. High school students who are enrolled in the state of Oklahoma are not outside agitators. They are people who are speaking out for their future. They are people who are speaking out for what they believe is right. I say if high school students can see it, I hope and I pray that the 24 hours that the governor has been holed up behind brand new barricades because he was praying, because he was trying to make the right decision, I hope that he actually comes to the right decision. I hope that he doesn't start these young people off at an early age believing that their voice doesn't matter. I hope that he listens to their voice, that he listens to the fact that Julius Jones' family has been at the Capitol wanting to talk to him. Listen to the voice of the folks who knew Julius before. Listen to the Pardon and Parole Board and stop this execution. I don't know, I was just truly inspired that young folks organized, coordinated with the superintendent, and made their way to the Capitol so their voices could be heard. The other thing that's happening at the Capitol today, they're still in special session about redistricting. And I know some folks will think, why is she talking about both of those? Why is she talking about something other than Julius Jones, which is the most pressing thing happening in our state? It absolutely is very pressing, and it is the most pressing thing in our state. The challenge is, if we do not pay attention to redistricting, if we do not pay attention to another opportunity for us to have our say and determine our future for the next 10 years, we will end up in a worse spot where we are now. Where we are now with this supermajority of representative, well, I don't even want to call them representative, of elected officials who do not represent the voice of the people. This happened 10 years ago with the redistricting maps 10 years ago. And they are now on the floor negotiating to make it even more gerrymandered, to silence more voices of both our rural community and our urban core. They are working very hard to silence more voices of Oklahoma. That's why I have to mention them both, that this is a real-time thing, but it was set in motion 22 years ago. Redistricting is a real thing set in motion 10 years ago. I am always talking about the need to run or find someone to run or support a candidate, all of those things. That's what I talk about. But it is so important to me because we have to pay attention to elections every day. Every time there is an opportunity to vote, we have to pay attention because elections have consequences, and those consequences show up in places that we're not always looking. Who would have thought that in 1 week, our legislators will be voting to silence 86,000 Hispanic voices, and our governor would be looking at a decision to execute someone who, by all rights, shouldn't be executed. We are in the middle of federal litigation. Let's say that. And our state does not know how to carry out executions. And again, not going to put in my personal thoughts about executions, but just dealing with facts and not emotions. The last 4 executions that Oklahoma carried out were not done well. They were not done well. The governor has advice from his appointed pardon and parole board that says stop this execution. It's time for all of us, if you haven't already called, or if you called and you have a few minutes, to call the governor at 405-521-2342. Call the governor and politely, but certainly, let him know that you want him to halt this execution. Halt this execution. And we'll deal with the abolishment of executions later, but right now, halt this execution. 405-521-2342, and talk to a person so that your call gets recorded. Alrighty, thanks for joining me. And I will be back here. Hopefully, I will be back here tomorrow at 4:15 with great news. Hopefully. Thanks for joining.